What's going on, family? Welcome to Monday Quality Talks number 56. Let me lower the volume of the sound a little bit. There we go. How are you all doing? That's right. A very warm welcome on this Monday for another edition of your weekly quality talk indeed. This thing is annoying my ear. Okay, here we go. Should be working now. I'm gonna let you guys settle in nicely. Feel free to jump into the chat. For those of you who are just joining us for the first time, welcome. For those of you who are aficionados of the show, you know what to do. Make sure you press the like button. Make sure you show some love. Here you go. See? That damn thing got... These things are cool, but then when they start acting up... There we go. Yeah. Okay, now it's better. For those of you who already know what's happening with this show, press the like button. Make sure you, also announce yourself, and let's embark on a conversation today. Another one. To be very sincere, I attended Web Summit last week. And it was very productive, but exhausting. Whoa, I didn't expect this experience to be so physically demanding, physically, but also psychologically, because, you have to, interact with so many different people, and which is great. It forces your mind to really work in a proactive way. But yeah, it's exhausting. And, it was indeed productive, very productive, and took some time to rest a little bit. And even though today I was feeling like, oh God, my body, my system felt a little bit weak and tired. Not weak, just tired. I was almost like, but we can't miss the rendezvous. So yes. Welcome to the 56th episode of Monday Quality Talks MQT, and a episode I will be using as an opportunity to reflect a little bit today on the idea of, so how do I approach this one? Giving back. So you hear a lot of people saying, giving back to the community, what is your contribution? What is your added value besides, looking out for yourself? And the conversation today really is about pinpointing the importance of maintaining a certain coherence when it comes to what we expect of people, and how sometimes we ask of people things that they cannot afford to fulfill just because they don't have the means to. This is an ever-growing subject where we are faced with so many different challenges, right? And some people may use certain experiences and challenges as excuses as to why they're not doing certain things that is expected of them. But again, expecting of somebody something that you yourself is not ready to do is unfair. So, to start well, solid. There we go. Go figure why I've let this phone on. Anyways, things happen, and this gave me time to really, in these short seconds, just to align a little bit the thought process, because this is not an easy conversation to have. This is not a tiny subject to touch upon, because it can rub a lot of people the wrong way. And not that I'm worried to do that, but I also don't want to be disregarding the fact that there's a lot of people out there doing great things, contributing greatly for their community, to and for their communities, and also outside of their communities. But I think that the best way to look at it is looking at it from my perspective, and my personal experience as to dealing with sometimes some people very unrealistic expectations, and really that is not a small conversation to be had, because the truth of the matter is that when you embrace a certain path in life, if you happen to become a public figure or someone of influence, as to say, it's expected of you to start, claiming certain positions, taking certain positions in favor of or against certain situations, certain people, certain stance, etc., etc., etc. So basically, you literally are kind of asked to use your voice and your reach to the community you touch to bring about certain awareness. And I'm talking particularly here, and I'm going to focus specifically and mostly on the financing of communities and these so-called donations and investments that are made. Not saying that they're not being done, not saying that it's not impacting some people's life, but I have to say that I hear a lot of things being done in certain countries. Great, foundations investing here, there, this, that, and the other. And though you can see palpable, truth and impacts for some of these works, like for example, Akon's 1 Billion Lights project, which I think is a great initiative. I don't know how far that went and what's happening of that. But I feel like a lot of the time initiatives are met short. After a certain amount of time, when you pass the whole propaganda aspect of things, when you're marketing things and you're out there meeting presidents, this and that and the other, gaining influence, for anybody with a little bit of power and influence, financial influence, those are great kudos points to add, because it positions you in the grand scheme of things as somebody that holds values that are very humanist and very genuine and this and that and the other, which maybe you might be. But the thing is that I fail to see, not saying that I have access to these informations in depth, but I fail to see some of these actions true impact on the long term. Giovanni Kopogo, what's going on, man? Welcome everyone. So as I'm talking about these people bringing about money and investments and contribution to the community, I really want to make sure that you understand I am not throwing stones at anyone, but I am indeed addressing an important point to my personal observation, which is really how far we've seen some of these projects being taken to, and by that I mean how short, they ended up being in terms of their length and the longevity in time. Yeah, man, I'm good. Thank you very much. The week has started beautifully by God's grace. We here, man. We give thanks. Another day, another great opportunity. Yeah, NGOs, but not only foundations, etc. And I'm not saying that some foundations are not doing great jobs when it comes to really, bringing about tools that can help the next generation really emancipate themselves from poverty and maximize their skills, etc., etc., etc. But you see, the thing is that if we start with NGOs alone, NGOs, man, that's a deep topic, and I'm not the most educated on the topic, but I have indeed seen a few, especially in our country, Central African Republic. Since I know that you're also Central African as well, Giovanni, and you intervening in the chat right now. So, if you are from Central African Republic or even DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo, or any countries who has dealt with NGOs, there's so many NGOs. There's actually, whether you're in Central African Republic or you go to the eastern part of Congo in Goma, where I had the chance to go and perform at the Amani Festival a couple of years ago, I've never seen that many NGOs, yet I've never seen that much trouble and disruption in the country, despite the fact that there's all these NGOs. And you're like, what the hell is the function of all these companies, of all of these so-called, non-governmental organizations? Of course, there's different NGOs for different things. I get it, but what is the true impact you're bringing forth for the population? Yeah, I mean, look, it's a bit sad. It's a bit sad when you see, for example, I remember when I played for that festival in Goma, I accepted to do it for free, but I said I want the equivalent of my fee to be given out in tickets. I would not lie to you. I don't think that this is exactly what happened. And, as much as I think they're doing a great job, organizing this festival, bringing about big artists. But you see, for me, if you are a big artist, if you are somebody that has, interest of people at heart, the usual fee you're charging should actually go much lower. You should understand that you should allocate and contribute with at least half of your usual fee you would charge to, fueling in the support and the necessary, additional gas to help this machinery move towards, providing more for the youth, and they need everything. I mean, I remember there was this Congolese NGO run by this woman who needed funds for kids in distress, orphans, albino kids, etc. It was just heartbreaking to see all this. Some of these kids had experiences that most humans, can't even, wrap their head around, and they need psychologists, they need psychiatrists, they need specialists, that can help them, try to bring some sort of normalcy to those kids. And I think quite a lot can be remarkably pointed out as being done in that regard, but it's just not enough. Since there is a global interest in maintaining these regions in war and at war, then if these forces, these foreign forces and countries do have an interest in maintaining war, then okay, well, since that's the status quo, because it clearly is a status quo, there's a desire to maintain these areas completely unstable, then provide equally as much support as you can for the population that's going to be living there. Since we're going to be very how do you call this word? There's a word to say that to qualify this kind of mentality. Man, today I'm blanking out a lot. It's probably tiredness. Certainly is. How do you call this? Oh snap! Anybody help me? It's not. No, it's not sarcasm, obviously not. But it's. What do you call this thing? Ah, shit! I forgot the word. Anyways, when you see that this is what's going on, and there is no real efforts being made to truly provide, yet again, solace for this new generation. We are raising philanthropists. No, it's the opposite. When when you don't like somebody, but you poker face them. Cynicism, cynicism, or cynicism. I don't know. Yeah, cynism in French. Exactly, that's the word. Since we're going to be all cynics, cool. Let's maintain it like that. But then at least do your part. And you see, when you look at Central African Republic is another country that is plagued with NGOs. With fights between France and Russia and so many different foreign countries, and who is going to have the hegemony, the power over access to the resources. One says that we've been there all these years, but look, we're the acts of goodness and of democracy, etc. The others are the devil and this and that and the other, but none of y'all are better than anyone, especially not better than one of the other. But at least when you have to choose between the cancer or an amputation, you gotta check which one is is the best solution, given you have the best of the worst, right? So you're gonna look for the amputation instead of fucking dying from a cancer, right? And so in the end, we also have these issues where we can talk about the leadership, we can talk about leadership in our countries and in general in our communities. Papa Kesha, cynicism is at all-time high in the streets. Absolutely. And that's the thing. We can criticize all our leaders. Great. Yeah, this leader is responsible for this, for that. You forget that these leaders, are not the only ones in power. There are people who have an interest in maintaining certain things the way they have been all these years. And no matter which leader comes into power, some of these things will just not change. Corruption, influence, etc., whether you want it or not. This is just the way the world has been, from time, from the beginning of time, and a lot of people nowadays want to believe in these fables and this idea that we can have a world that is more this, more that, more accountable. Bro, like, I'm not saying I'm not pessimistic, but I am just a realist. And I think that ultimately these are extremely complicated things to achieve, because human beings are complicated by nature, and even more so when you reach levels of power and influence. You can see that in the music business. Anybody who reaches a certain level of influence and power has a tendency to exert that power in an arbitrary way, and to the point where it affects others who are trying to, get a little bit of that sunshine, on their faces. Not even on whole their body, but just their faces, and they're not even given, permitted that opportunity. And unless you're gonna be willing to, literally put on your big gloves, big boys gloves, and grab all the courage you have in you to push and go forward, no matter the cost. it's just not going to happen. Nobody's going to serve anything to you. Knowing that, and you understand exactly what I mean, where I'm going with this. I've always been doing all I've done by myself. I've not received any financial support from anyone, and in my whole career, I mean, let's not lie, in my career, anybody who's given me, I think there was one person in 22 years that gave me 10,000 euros, one person. And this person was far away from anyone I could have imagined would have been willing to give me that money, knowing that they would not see it back, because this is in the music industry, for example. Especially if you're in a niche kind of industry, the money you spend, you're not going to see it back, and so it's an investment on the long term. So you will indeed see it coming back into your pocket as time goes. But unfortunately, if you expect a direct return on your money, it's just not happening, and being very clear and honest with that person, which already was making me feel kind of weird because I had never taken any money from anyone. That person was like, look, I don't even need the money back. You're my brother, got you. I was like, whoa. Yeah. I don't even need you to drop my name, do none of that shit. Yo, for real. And for real. Never ever heard this person come back to me saying this, that, and the other. Proud of what I did with the money, because I used the money exactly for what it was intended to be used for. Where most people would have probably, cut that money in half or more than that, and do whatever nonsense with it, and then provided something, of a much lesser, quality, as far as the result of what that money was intended for. All that to say that when you then start hearing people say, well, what is your contribution to this? What is contribution to that? But like, what do you know? Because the thing is that, we hear about all of these great, coalitions, different communities, leaders of communities coming together and, having conversations and, doing all these like Zoom calls and dinners and this and that. And I have to honestly ask a lot more people than those around me. Have you ever seen any of these conversations or resolutions or monies impacting anyone you know directly? I'll wait for your response. I'm pretty sure I'm going to wait a long time. And not saying that it's not impacting some people are not benefiting from it. I'm not saying that. But the point of the matter is, if we are really being honest, these resources are not made available for our people, as they love to say. It is made available for a select amount of people, which again may not necessarily be done in a malicious way. I don't believe it is. I think that obviously you can't satisfy everybody's expectation and obviously support everyone. But a lot of the time, those who are already doing things within the industry that is being supposedly supported are the ones who need the support the most, because through them already being established, and I'm talking about myself as well. We have to do everything ourselves. We have to fund everything ourselves. But if we were to have the actual support, we were to have the actual financial backing, and freedom to be able to invest in many more ventures as far as our artistry is concerned, etc., you'd see so much more financial impact and things that would actually truly bear fruits that people can actually enjoy on the long term, right? Whereas now, a lot of the projects, I'll see like some projects being financed by this and that organization, and it's just like, and it's a one-off, and it's not even like something that is being planned for a certain amount of time, because you can't see the evolution of a given project if you only, try it out once. It might not even work that first time. Certainly will not work. And so this is my point. This is where, I think that a lot of problem resides, that some people are put in positions of in position of decision. Their position of power, they have position of powers that they're not using to the maximum of their capacities, because mediocrity seems to be the predominant functionality now. It's like the more people get on, like the moment the people get sitting in the right place, boom, they get into mediocre move. Maybe they were mediocre already then, but then they faked it well enough so that people would not even imagine that they would be mediocre, and then eventually you then realize that, oh shit, I got fooled. I thought this person was this, that, and the other. And this is where you should not assume who anyone is. Really, you should just allow yourself to just see people for who they are. And again, I know it's not easy, but the thing is that those who can give back are those who are already in position but needing the support. And there is many people, like I'm telling you, like there's so many people that are just shy and ashamed to say that, hey, you know what, if I was to have access to more resources, I could do much more, and we could actually see further into details as to how we can implement some of these resources. Use these resources to put in place structures and means of creating income, and just a safety net, right? That eventually you won't create a middle class with any of this, but even you could actually create that, but there's no real incentive. And again, I'm focusing mostly on culture. This conversation is really, as you can see from the beginning, even though I was talking about Goma, my experience at the Amani Festival, which was a great experience, it's all culture related. So culture is used to convey messages, to convey certain philosophy, to convey certain agendas. And even though this festival is happening every year, and I'm pretty sure, and I've met people that really, are really doing this, believing they're doing well. And I think they are doing some good stuff. But the thing is that we need many more initiatives that really push forward and further. Giovanni Copogo says, does giving back have to be known at all to be efficient for the people who are receiving it? Because sometimes giving back is it's like big noise only. Yeah, again, I agree with you. You don't need to be promoting the giving back, right? But the thing is that I'm talking within circles. Like sometimes when you speak to certain investors, you speak to certain people with power, with money and influence, their conception is very limited. And it's almost like, well, I'll give an example. Well, if your project is not serving the greater good of the community, why should I invest in it? The thing is that if myself, I am not stable enough in the sense that I cannot provide for myself, how can I provide for others? Oh, but what do you mean? Oh, that you should first be rich and then while everybody's suffering? But the thing is that misery loves company. So no, should not be rich, but I should be able to actually not stress about, having to cover this and that cost, which that stress being alleviated from me through the support or through the providing of resources, allow me to allocate more of my energy to see how I can contribute, whether it's contributing with knowledge, whether, all of these things, right? But when you don't have access to it, you create the resources. And so I'm not crying for it because I'm creating the resource for myself. And the only way I can give back, besides, my voice and using this platform, my YouTube channel or the music, etc., is that, so more than that, yeah, maybe, and people are like, yeah, but nobody's asking you to put any money. But the thing is that the situation is so deep, it is so problematic. When people don't have enough to afford the basic meal, 3 meals a day, or even just 2 meals a day, or even sometimes 1 meal a day, how do you expect them to think? Ventre vide n'a pas d'oreille. Empty belly doesn't have no ears. So, and you should not be fooling yourself by thinking that, oh, it's only in Africa. There's many people even here, people that don't have the basics to survive this brutal fucking life. And yeah, you might say, well, who told them to be artists? Well, who told you to be dumb? You know? And I'm not saying that, because you're an artist, you should just be there with your arms crossed and expecting this, expecting that. By artist, I mean creative. And as a matter of fact, talking about artists, there is a bit of a separation that is made between the different arts. If it's visual arts, culinary arts, people get support. People will have financiers, etc., 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 etc. Okay, maybe not all of them, but there's always going to be that one person that's going to break through, and eventually everyone underneath might get a little bit of the crumbs. But that's the point. The situation here is that you got to be able to put together initiatives that not only are rooted in long-term vision and meeting goals on a yearly basis. I had a chance to meet Kehinde Wiley. Kehinde Wiley, who's, amazing photographer, painter, artist, sorry. But I think he also does photography, if I'm not wrong. He painted a famous portrait of Barack and Michelle Obama, amongst so many other portraits that he's done, and it is very much inspired by death, right? I met him in Senegal because he has his Black Rock project, which is a great residency for artists, and he hosts artists from all over the continent, etc., the world as well, and empowers them, gives them opportunities to express their artistry, hold residencies, and eventually come out of there with some sort of impact made in their lives. And I'm not taking away the human equation in the conversation, where it's also a question of personalities. Some people just don't have the drive or the will to succeed. They're not willing to do the work, because if you think about it, you can be presented with an opportunity, but if you're not prepared, you will never seize the opportunity. So even in that, there needs to be education. There needs to be a real deep, in-depth education of the mind. Empowering people is not just giving them access to resources, which would be financial, material, etc. No, it's also, I would even say it's first and foremost the mind. If you don't muscle this thing, you're not prepared to not only welcome the blessing that you're going to have bestowed upon you by having access to resources, the wisdom that is required to have, in order for you to make the most proactive use of what is given to you as far as resources. Giovanni Kopogo is saying, yes, indeed, big bro. I agree with you on that. Empty stomach, it's real issues in this world, even here in France. For example, the young people who are studying and going to university. Exactly. So the thing is this, right? So, but this is a system. And they'll say, yeah, but, we're doing this, we're doing that. Yeah, but my question to you is, how is that impacting these kids or these young people, women and men's life? Like, answer my question, bro. And I understand, I am, as much as I would love to be an idealist, and I think I still am to a certain extent, but I'm a realist. I'm not a pessimistic person, but I'm a realist. I know for a fact, even though we all have it in us to succeed, not all of us will succeed. Not all of us will be able to achieve the highest realm of success, etc., and personal achievement. And that is a very personal thing for a lot of people. The thing is that if you're really not giving people the chance to see in them this capacity, because you're hammering them with, costs of lives that they can't afford. Again, a decent meal, a decent house, a decent apartment, whatever the case may be. When people have to think about their survival, what do you think is going to happen? I don't know. You tell me, right? And so there's got to be some social engineering in place. There's got to be some, different ways to look at capitalism. I mean, I think that there's ways to make money and still be able to distribute the money while still be making profit and all of that. Social capitalism and all of that. You know what I mean? So where is that? Where is that to be seen? You hear about all of this great project that, how is that impacting people? Like the other day, I was talking to this Ukrainian woman. So with the actual conflict going on in Ukraine, between Ukraine and Russia, this woman was sharing with me that, her family is still in Kiev and they don't have access to electricity, or even water is complicated, and, internet is all these stuff are super complicated. And then I'm like, okay, hold on. So Elon Musk sent out satellites and all of these different things. There's been so much contribution, right? And it's like, okay, and I don't have the answer, but I'm asking the question. If even there, with all this help, it seems like it's not enough to help the people who are suffering. And we're talking about Europeans, or Eastern Europeans, however you want to, call it, because since now there's all these different, the world is going crazy now with all these things. You don't even know what to say anymore. But the thing is that as Africans, my point being, you cannot continue to expect that the Westerner or the Africans abroad, as Sister Woman would say, can provide the support or can be there for us on the continent. And maybe one might say, but there never really was. Maybe. But the bottom line is, nobody is supposed to give you a handout. So now we have to discuss how is the best way to engineer a system that can allow those who are least favored by, access to, great internet resources of all sorts, at a relatively low cost, because we know in Africa how things can be very expensive. And that is a question that needs to be posed and that needs to be really addressed. I believe, first and foremost, is education. If we are not being educated that we're capable to do great things, at the condition that we really work to make these things happen. Because you cannot do any great things if you're not working, educating yourself, and pushing hard towards making them happen. And they won't happen overnight. The things that was this new generation, and not even just this new generation, but I think even people my generation, a little bit older, people have even become that way. It's like they want instant results. It doesn't work like that. You have to let the process of life take its course. You have to let people evolve. You have to allow people to take their place in this environment that they're about to occupy. See if it fits with them or not. You know what I mean? These are not plans on 2 years, 3 years. And you can establish plans like that. But these are plans on 50 years. Well, maybe we might not even see these plans through. But those after us needs to continue. And there needs to be implementations at a state level, policy level, constitution level, where it's a must that we look further than just the next 5 years or 2 years. For all we know, we might not even have that much. But who wants to live with little hope or no hope at all? And much as I'm a realist, I'm a person that still believes that anything and everything is possible in a positive way. but not denying the fact that negativity is around, not denying the fact that, we can deal at any moment with things that will disrupt our lives. But as Africans, we are used to be disrupted. Your everyday life, unless you come from a wealthy family, and even if you come from a wealthy family, your life, your livelihood can be put into jeopardy at the very moment there's a new government in place and you're no longer the ruling elite. Your shit gets stripped from you. Then your ass gets in the street and you end up, having to fucking use taxis, this and that and the other, or live abroad, with very limited resources than the ones you had. Question is, what were you doing when you were having access to all these resources? And a lot of these people don't give a fuck about these informations because we have it now. Fuck your nonsense. Pardon my French, I might not be monetized now that I use these words, but that's my show. I do what I want. But the point is that you cannot expect progress, even if when you see some of the future generations of the African elite, and I'm not saying all of them, but a lot of them acting like spoiled brats and not being conscious of the fact that no resources is eternal. Let that sink in. No resources is eternal. You have to work to maintain that. You have to, you cannot just expect things to just work because they're working. No. There's people behind these things that allow them to work and function. And again, we cannot expect anyone to come and save us from ourselves, from our demise. And arts in general in Africa are more than ever pregnant with so many talents. The world of art is so rich of talents. And yet, you wonder when there's going to be an actual gathering of truly powerful, successful minds, right? Truly powerful African artists, women and men alike, deciding to create something that is not only gonna be benefiting their kids, but other people's kids and the future, impacting their continent in a global way from a local standpoint. Because the dynamic is to start at a very low level in a local way, starting to work on these implementations and starting to see how those different projects can bear fruits. When you start seeing that, okay, this works, and I know for a fact these experiments have been done and they've proven to be working. The thing is that they didn't benefit anymore from any more investment or funding. And we have very intelligent people that present great projects that get dismissed all the time. And then other projects that have no added value, makes no goddamn sense, but that gets financed with millions and millions of euros or hundreds of thousands of euros. Explain to me why the dichotomy. Even though I know the dichotomy, I know the channels, I know why these things are messed up, but I still have to pose a question. Since we all been, treated like dumb people, let's act dumb then. Give me a very simple answer to that question. Because, I don't get it. I really don't. And it's not like making moves towards truly empowering your people nationwide. I mean, I'm just talking about like from a standpoint of your country, wherever you are from. If you empower your youth, give them the access, they're not going to turn against anyone. No, but because the thing is that when people are given opportunities to fulfill or at least have access to means that can help them reach a certain understanding that, okay, this is possible. Who wants disruption that can cause imbalance in the country? People want peace, man. People want to be able to live their lives happily. They want to be able to go back to their home, to their family, and know that there's food on the table. That tomorrow there is enough to pay for their telephone, their electricity bills, that you don't need to be, setting up a freaking, OnlyFans account and selling, pictures and videos of you doing things that will offend or will be used against your children in the future, if you ever have any, and things that you might be ashamed of them knowing about, but their friends at school will know about. And then, we're gonna have to empower you and say, well, it's okay, my body, my choice. Well, but what about your kids? That's the thing. Like, we do things and it's okay. We are free to do whatever we want. It's okay. All good, man. I'm not criticizing that, but I'm just saying, I think that, and again, there's always going to be people that want to make easy money, and that's fine. We need that as well. We need all of it, but we need a predominance of actual true access to resources. We need implementation of things that, first of all, push for education, and while educating, providing people with a certain stability of life. Because technically, if you really think about it, helping a family out survive on a monthly basis in any given country in Africa is not crazy money, man. Especially if you are super wealthy, and especially if there's a plan. And we know now very well. I mean, there's enough people who've studied societies that can be asked to help for this kind of projects. Because the problem is that individually, yes, I can do what I do, but the problem is that, for example, if you talk about like Web3, majority of people on the African continent doesn't even know what it means. And Europe is not even a majority of people that know what it means, let alone Web2, let alone the history of internet. Education is key. I remember when I was a kid, my father had painted, there was a painter that came to, because I was homeschooled, and I literally had a classroom, and my teachers, I had personal teachers that would come to the house and teach me, all those, things that you learn at school, history, geography, math, whatever. And on the wall was written, "From education is birthed great nations." From education is birthed great nations. Or if you want to change it around, great nations are birthed from education. People need to be educated. People need to be able to be educated about their past so that they can be truly rooted in their present in order to build and extend their strength and their arms for the future. That's what I'm saying. That's what I believe needs to be done. And again, I don't think it's impossible to achieve. I really don't. If you ask me, I really don't think it's impossible. You just need great people that are, and we have them. That's the funny part. We have super intelligent minds, man, that know exactly how we could implement that. And yes, one of the big mistakes people do, they come from a diasporic perspective of things. Like, let's say Africans living abroad, Africans from Europe or Africa or Eastern Europe or Australia or whatever. Their perspective, bringing their perspective back on the continent, it doesn't work. You can add value, obviously, to the building of the kind of future we want to see. But the thing is that certain things are being mixed up. Everybody want to talk about things that move people here on this side of the world, as though truthfully people who can't afford a daily meal give a shit about. And you know what I'm talking about. Well, it's not correct what you're saying. it's the truth. Whether you like the truth or not, that's on you. But the fact of the matter is that if people can't afford a livelihood, you know what I mean? They don't have time to worry about shit that people here who are fat and super blessed with opportunities. And I'm not saying that it's equal for everybody. That obviously, I'm not dumb. I've been living in Europe for 20 plus years, 22 years. Come on, I know how it works here. But the point is that we are so spoiled a lot of the time we don't even see. And some of us who've been through this life of seeing poverty, of even experiencing poverty, trust me, we know exactly how to work with, how to amplify the power of $20 or even $10. You can go a long fucking way if you're smart enough. And if you're willing to go through that pain, right? When I hear people cry about the fact that they have, oh my God, I only have X amount of money left in my account. Do you know that this is a whole year salary for somebody? You're complaining that you don't have that. You only have that for this month or for the next 2 months or whatever. I don't dismiss your stress. I don't dismiss your anxiety because that's the world you live in. But at the end of the day, you got to come back to some reality. And that's what we need. Too many people are caught up into their bullshit and losing their ways, along the way. But what is the true essence? Ask yourself that. What is essential for you? And no judgment. If this, that, and the other is essential for you, and you try to put that in comparison with some other countries and some other population having to deal with completely different realities of life, you may be willing to understand that, their concern is elsewhere. That's it. I love to see all of these great initiatives being taken by, artists, entrepreneurs, by Africans, for Africans. That speech doesn't impact local people's life. I'm sorry. And if it does, it's a very limited amount of people. By Africans, for Africans, is because, and not saying that it's bad, it's great that the diaspora going back on the continent does all these efforts. I mean, that needs to be supported. And that's my point. The reason why they can't afford to impact more people's life is because there's no system in place, right? We talk about black this, black that, black this, black that. But when are we going to create the black fund? A fund that can help, that really is truly Pan-African, truly comprehensive, that is so well put that, we're able to address the needs of each and every entrepreneur, or at least the most remarkable, and those and establish realistic list of things that people need to be able to meet, pointers that and boxes that people, realistical ones, right? None of some of those stupid shit that you think that are achievable. And if you meet these criteria, then you're granted X amount and you're giving that support. Because you know what? These people will help the economy grow. And by you giving those grants, by you giving this financial support, you're not necessarily, getting a return on your investment directly, but you're actually helping the society, local economy to start flourishing. And now, if you engineered well that whole thing, you know how to then turn this into profit for you. Because people who know how to make money will always know how to make money. I challenge you to, strip anybody with hundreds of millions of dollars or euros or whatever the currency may be. They'll know exactly what to do in order to make that money back. Most of them, majority of them. And it's facts. Because most people don't have education as to how to handle these things. So you educate people, provide you know, access to information and knowledge that is built in a comprehensive way, easy to digest, because especially in our countries in Africa, the informal sector is so predominant that we just need, and a lot of these women and men are self-taught. They are geniuses. All they need is a little push. And that is more the exception than the norm, unfortunately. When you see people giving the push to some of these great entrepreneurs. And that's the thing, this whole black fund is black. Again, we have a problem, right, between our own communities. Black power this, black that this, da. Okay, great. I love that. But between us, there's so much division. I've seen it not so long ago. I won't even comment much on it. But I will just say that some think that because they come from certain regions of the world, speak a certain language, have a certain demeanor, are better than others. And they'll say, oh, what do you mean by that? Oh, but y'all do the same. Really? Look, man, the whole world look up to you guys. But then people get discouraged and disgusted a lot of the time by the attitudes. Because you try to act, either you're complex, whatever complex it is, there's no need for it. And true unity resides in the respect of one another, realities. But fronting and coming with all this conversation of this and that, us there, we do this now. It's not about us there. How can we do this now? We, now, then, there, whoa. No. It's here now and together. Put your ego and all your diplomas and I'm this, I'm that. Because in reality on the street, you can't do shit. So bring it back to the gritty shit, man. Bring it back to just evident 1 + 1 = 2, not on some equation that, we have different, options to look at the result. No. Keep it simple. Applicable, easy to manage, and let's see direct impact on society. Because I can guarantee if there's one thing that is impressive with our continent, and I'm talking about as a continent, not because Africa is not a country, it's a continent. If you really do things well, no matter the government, you will see impact like this. Education, healthcare, and providing people with a stable way of making a livelihood. There's so many means that can be used, adapted to our realities, not the realities of Westerners or Afropeans or Afro-Americans or whatever you want to call Afro-Latinos. Those are different realities. Africa has its own reality, and it can take definitely some inspiration from all of these other, fellow African brothers and sisters, but from abroad. But we need to humble ourselves when we go back home. Sit down and ask, okay, because let me tell you something. Africa as a continent is not behind. It is not behind. If it is behind, explain to me why to this day, and even more so to this day, even more so now than ever, you have countries like France, Russia, China, etc. fighting over, access to resources, controlling this and that narrative. You feel me? If it was that poor, why would they be fighting over this? Oh, well, because we want to make it. Oh, now there's terrorism or there's Al Qaeda. Bruv, no denying the existence of terrorism. But a lot of y'all are responsible for this shit. And it's proven, and historians have spoken at length. You just want to act like, the elephant in the room is not us. Who is it then? So let's come back to some understanding. Unfortunately, there's a lot of traitors to the cause. There's a lot of people that act as they are part of it. They want to fight with the go through with us along with that. But then the moment they are given an opportunity to branch out, to break through without anyone, they will do it. That's human being. That's not just us as Africans. That's human being. But unfortunately, when we're talking about us, it happens too many times, too often. And those who, on the contrary, want to actually be there, support, help, those are the ones that eventually get shot, get killed, get scandalized, etc., 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 etc. When are we going to come and make sense of ourselves, man, and truly look out for the greater good of our people and of our kids and next generation? Because truly, the shit we're doing now is fucked up and it's not making any sense. And that's not just Africa; that's just worldwide, if you think about it. But anyways, some people might say I'm going on a rant and, whatever. And, I don't care really. All I'm saying is that all this help, all these grants, all these foundations, all these funds, all this and that, all this, that, and this. First of all, I don't see the impact of it anywhere close to people I see or I know to be poor and to be in great need of it. And on top of that, being very skilled. So either y'all are not doing it. And I'm talking about the Dangotes, the Olumelu, all of them, and I'm not saying that they're not doing a great job. I'm not saying that, they're obviously doing what they're doing, but I don't see it impacting. I don't have the eloquence right now, or even the structure in my head to really, the right wording for it right now, because I'm a bit tired. But I don't see. So, for example, they'll do like a lot of African this, African that. Okay, these and that people, these and these people from different countries of Africa have benefited from this. Okay, great. I want to see a continuation of this work. Don't just do a promotion that's going to be lasting a month, blasting us with all this information, you being on CNN doing this and that, Truthfully, can we come out of these little gimmicks of promotion and marketing stunt? Because for me, these are not disregarding the work that you guys are doing. And all respect to the big bosses and the big orgas, But at a certain point, I'm more interested in seeing the storytelling of those that have benefited from these opportunities. What have they done when they went back home? Have they built businesses? Have they actually responded to a need that was local and that was affordable? Have they been able to empower and amplify, others around them, other people's skills? That is my thing. That is my question to y'all. And I think that there's no follow-up. That is what we're missing. That's what we lack on our continent. Follow-up, accountability. We love to talk about these big words, we're pivoting this, inclusion, inclusive. Bruv, y'all using big words, not even applying this shit, man. Oh, of course, the minimum has to be done to maintain a good image. But the truth of the matter is, all of us, whether it's the super billionaires, the poor, we are all in this world together. And where we are going is a whole. We're going to be buried or burnt or whatever it is, however you want to die, however you want a body to be treated. But we're all going to end up dying. Now, some people say, yeah, but fuck it. I'll die rich. But you're not taking any of this money with you when you die, my man. So think about the future. Think about the rest. Not saying that you should not enjoy your money. You should not enjoy your resources. You should. It's your hard-earned money. It's your hard-earned resource. So you must rightfully enjoy it. I'm not saying, and again, I'm not criticizing your private jets, your yacht, your this, your that. Do whatever you want. And not that what you've done so far is not enough, but follow-up, accountability, making sure that more of these opportunities opened for up-and-coming entrepreneurs, are presented on a yearly or every 2 or 3 years. Boom. What about artists? Truly make it inclusive. Not just some select artists who are being presented and added to these little things through friends or friends who know this, who know that. It's all a click fucking thing. And if you don't have access to the right click, or hanging out with the right, consulary advisor to this and that, embassy, or you're not with this, you're not gonna get the access. Might be wrong. And again, some might say, yeah, but because the Boddhi didn't get this. My man, I couldn't care less, because me, when I travel in Africa, those people who bring me to Africa are Africans. I'm not brought by any embassies. I have no problem to work with for anyone. I mean, if you're a client, you pay the fee that I ask, you respond to the conditions that I require. We work. That's not a fucking problem, because that's what I do. I do my work in a different way. I have a different form of implementing my form of activism. I don't have to be out there in the streets protesting. I have my own way of doing it, And the people, and yes, I'm one of those people that can have sit with super, super rich and powerful people and still be able to talk to them in a way that not only responds to their requirement on how they want to be spoken to, using the language and the formulations that is necessary in order for them to respond potentially positively to what I'm saying, wherever they're from, without any complex. But I can also sit with, the lady that's going to be, vending, whatever she'd be vending on the streets, sitting down and what's the problem? That's my education. That's my, and we have that in us. Some of the richest women and men in Africa, if they go back home, they eat with their hands, keeping it real. It's just, for the facade. And of course, because, you have to represent a certain elite, of course, But if we're keeping it real, man, we have nothing to, and that's one of the things that I have to say I like about Nigerian people. Nigerians are very proud to be Nigerians. Not saying that, we are not proud as Africans to be proud to be from where we are, etc. But Nigerians are some of the proudest Africans you will meet. So a lot of them don't have no complex whatsoever. And it's to their defense, and it's also maybe a detriment as well in some aspects. But I think for the most part, it's a great thing. And apologetically, African and Nigerian. Why not? Ivorians are like that as well, right? I'm saying, in order for you to be proud of who you are and where you're from, you need to know your history. You need to be proud. And in order to be proud of your history, you need real storytellers, people who can actually allow you to be rooted in your history. Central African people from Central African Republic are not proud to be Central African. For the majority of them, I am a proud Central African. No government defines the pride I have for my country and my people. No war, no assassination will deter my pride. You understand? But the storytelling needs to change. The narrative needs to change. We need to start telling ourselves different stories, man. But not stories that are based on some La La Land bullshit. We need to be telling stories that are rooted in truth. And that means facing the good and the not good shit. And be honest about it and say, okay, you know what? Yeah, could be different. But we can't do nothing about the past. However, we can do everything about the present and how the future is going to be. Because when we live this world, and we will live this world, our kids, our future children will have to deal with this world. So the responsibility we have is grandiose, and we have a capacity to make a change. I'm going to add to that. Oh, well, climate this, climate that. Africa does not pollute like any other. Africa is not the polluter of the world. But it will be, because by 2050, I think 5 in 10 humans on Earth will be African. Some numbers like that. I might be completely wrong. You feel free to correct me in the comments. But a majority of humanity is going to be African. If you don't help now to put forth this whole plan of, making the world green this, green that, green this, green that. You're seeing now that I saw today that the COP27 or 28, COP28 today, COP28 today was, you saw the president of Senegal, Macky Sall, and president of DRC, Tshisekedi, talking about the fact, complaining about the fact that, none of the Europeans investors met their promises of $20 billion or some numbers like that, 2 billion, I can't remember, whatever the number was. And they only received like $56 million for 54 countries. Are we serious? Are you serious? I mean, and that's my first question when I saw that was, why do we wait for Europeans to give us any money, man? That's my question. Like, don't we have the resources? Does it always have to come from them? Can't we just invest in our own shit? And yeah, if we have to pay their specialists, okay, why not? But we already have specialists. They are more than happy to pay European specialists come tell our farmers how to farm. Okay, in some extent, you might add knowledge that people don't have because you might bring different ways of farming, that people have in Southeast Asia, etc., or South America. I mean, of course, that's always good. But the fact of the matter is that, why are we spending money on shit that's not adding value? Or maybe it is, but long run, every year, the monsoon came, we had this flood, because, there's not enough this, there's not enough that, there's not enough nature to block it. But what have you been doing with the money that's being sent? Man, that... man. Green this, green that. We have to meet this. Africa is not your polluter, man. We are not polluting. But if anything, they are sending their shit to us, making deal with governments, so that we can have their chemical, this, that buried in our grounds, in our soils, or in our seas. What kind of shit is that, man? Anyways. And then, you guys are just, all you do is complaining. No, we're not complaining, but we have to state facts, man. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm not educated. Maybe I don't know anything. Hey, you know what? I'm happy to be corrected, and I stand to be corrected on a lot of the things I say. And I'm willing to accept if I'm wrong. Cool. I'll say yes, I'm wrong. And if I'm proving that I'm wrong, I'll say it gladly. But I'm sorry. And this is the thing, we have also the same reflex. Our leaders. The problem is that, yes, it's unfortunate that we have these hierarchies in Africa where it's fortunate and it's unfortunate where we have this very patriarchal hierarchy where, there's the head, there's the leader, and then there's everyone else underneath. It has its pros and its cons. The problem is that if it's rooted in ancient practices that will not allow for progress of the country, we will indeed be screwed on the long term, on the long run. That's for sure. So we need to change these approaches. We need to really maintain the respect. Because I think that, this is utterly important. Like I saw the other day, this artist, Tenny, Nigerian artist, very talented, great vocalist. Big fan of her music. She went and received this prize from, the president of Nigeria. I'm blanking. Buhari, Mr. Buhari, Alhaj Buhari. I forgot what was the price. Muhammad Buhari, Alhaj Buhari, President Buhari. Anyways, you have to respect a gentleman like that, man. Whether you like him or not, He's the leader of your country. And on top of that, forget about being the leader. He's an elderly person. And not because somebody's elderly, you have to respect necessarily. But the point is that in our education, in our culture, we don't disrespect elders. It's this is why, in a way, man, I'm all good with this new generation trying to be bold, be this, be that, be bold all day, every day. That lady or young woman went and came. Oh shit! Let me watch what I say, because I could also be considered by saying, "Oh, young woman." This artist went and picked up her price, and it's all right to raise a voice against police brutalities and SARS and how brutal that shit was. And so many voices have been raised worldwide, and first and foremost by Nigerians. Nobody can love Nigeria more than Nigerian people. And I understand the resentment, but you don't solve situations by acting so disrespectfully. You actually solve it by sitting down with this man who could be your grandfather or your father and say, look, Your Excellency, I understand your position and I understand that, you're the leader of this country. There's not just one part of the population you have to respond to. Everybody's this, but this, how can we end this? And I'm pretty sure it has been done by many artists before her. People who are, doing things behind closed doors. And that's another thing. Oh, we want transparency. Look, not everything needs to be transparent because not everybody can understand certain complexity that comes into play when you're dealing with matters related to power. Whether you accept it or not, just like a kid wants to be involved in a conversation of adults, you are a child. This is intelligent. No, she's not intelligent enough to get that. There's a time for everything. Allow yourself to learn to grow into something. Rushing into everything because, I can do this. No, you can't. Even though you think you can, and who are you to say that I can't? Because there are things that you cannot buy, experience you cannot buy. And yes, not saying that I have all the answers, but I have a lot of answers. You might have them as well. And there's going to be a time where you can sit and exchange your answers and we can come together with finding solutions. So going back to my point, indeed, this whole pyramidal thing is a problem. And there is a necessity to bring back, to level things back up to a point where there can be some, I wouldn't say equality, because we're not all equals. Everybody wants to say, we're equals. We're not all equals. Unfortunately, whether you want it or not, whether you accept it or not, the reality of the world is that way. The big people say we're all equal, don't think they're equal to another person. They don't. One way or the other, they're going to make a difference about the way they dress, the way they smell, the way they this, the way they that. Everybody feels the same. So let's keep it simple. The best way to resolve things is understanding our customers as African, our cultures, and indeed push forward certain, backwards thinking that we have that holds us back. Of course. I don't think that, preserving at all costs certain practices is smart. I don't actually at all. And some practices are so behind, so backwards that, for sure, there needs to be implemented things that can allow for these, for example, call this thing excision. Excision consists of the removal of young girls' clitoris. How is that something that makes any sense? How? This is barbaric, and we can explain its origin, this and that, but it's barbaric. There's certain things that we can understand. Okay, scarification on the face, this and that. Those are, it's a different application. It's painful. It's this, but okay, we're going to remove somebody's genital. No, man, I thought you. Are you serious? Oh, you don't. Okay, look. So bottom line is, I'm not trying to get lost in the conversation. But I'm trying to say that as much as there's change needed in the way we aim at making our continent evolve to become what we want and we dream of it to be, it cannot achieve these completion of the vision we have if we keep doing things the way we're doing it. Thank you, Giovanni. Have a good night, brother. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your presence. So, yeah, there needs to be more done to allow for intelligent conversations to take place. And those who are the least intelligent to have these conversations should not be, in these rooms with these people in power taking decisions. Because you know what? Oh, all this, all that. Remember, a lot of the people that are there in the ministries, etc., in the positions of power are not old people. A lot of them are youths, just like you. But it's okay because they prefer, but they hide themselves behind the old guy, the president or the leader. Not saying that the leader is not responsible. You're a leader, you're responsible for sure. But there needs to be accountability on all aspects of society in our continent. And we cannot blame everything on others. We cannot blame this. No, we shouldn't. Like, at the end of the day, we are responsible for a lot of things that's happened. And us who have been able to evolve in an environment that gave us access to so many things in a more facilitated way, internet, high-speed internet. You can watch a show on YouTube or XYZ on your phone without any stress of losing credit. Oh, Giovanni, thank you very much, brother. I appreciate you, man. Thank you very much for this donation. It's important to understand that we have access to tools and means that allow us to communicate, educate, and be educated. So again, let's be humble enough and driven enough to really work towards respect. ALC, thank you very much. Thank you, appreciate that. DJ Dixon, thank you. Thank you very much. Look, let's really be honest enough with ourselves and understand the fact that we're always happy to serenade XYZ person doing XYZ thing. Great. I mean, great. I'm all about celebrating one another in our successes and accomplishments. And as I said, these success stories, we need follow up on them. We need to see impact, because my success as an African man and a Central African man is the following. I want to show my people that we can do it, and that and then you're gonna have colorism coming. Well, but you're a light-skinned brother. Oh no, you're not light-skinned. Sorry, you're a white African man. Okay, yeah. Well, I mean, that's my skin color. What can I do? Am I supposed to shoot myself? And is it was easier for me than it would be for you? Maybe. Let's say here, for sake of argument, since meritocracy doesn't work anymore, because as if everything I've had was served to me on a fucking platter. But let's say for sake of argument that you're right. Don't you think that when you have your people, your very own people, defending your cause, showing you that it can be done, that they cannot be your allies? And the problem is that the way the reason why we think like that is because a lot of those who've managed to succeed and penetrate these doors in these rooms, lock those doors behind them. Again, you're going to have people who do good and those who do not so good. And you learn to surround yourself with people who have your best interest at heart and for who you have also the best interest at heart. Because it's not a one-way street, man. It's a two-way street. And respect is required. Consideration is required. Everybody is not meant to succeed at the same level, same pace that you're at. People need more time. Some people need, guidance. And some people just don't want it. And that's okay. But leave those fuckers aside, because at the end of the day, we need people who are willing to move. And those who don't want to, and by saying that, nowadays you have to watch over everything you say. But I couldn't care less. Because at the end of the day, I'm all about merit, and I'm all about hard work, and I'm all about putting in the sweat. Because nothing is gained and received for free. And anything that's given to you for free makes you somebody that's going to owe something in the long run. There's no such thing as a free meal, bro. There's no such thing as a free meal. You have to give back somehow, some way. And what you have to give back may not necessarily be exactly how you think it could be, potentially be. Think well. DJ Dixon, epa, o inventinho na França, né? Estamos a ver. Por agora não há nada de confirmado, mas esperamos bem que daqui 2023 vamos conseguir fechar uma data. So family, I mean, it's a very deep topic. I'm really going to look into bringing more educated people than me to speak on this matter. People that I look up to and respect as well for the kind of knowledge they provide, and that is accessible to each and every one of us if you're just willing to get educated and push further our knowledge. Because again, there is no such thing as progress and evolution without education and knowledge. And there are people who truly are about serious, respectable knowledge, not some angles and sides and posture and this and that. No. Keeping shit real. That's what it is. And there's going to be the truth that you make for yourself, But one of the most important things that I think we could all take away from this conversation is all these handouts, all the Respect LC says, I don't think we should request respect from someone, but earn the respect. That's my point. You earn it. But even when you earn it, some people don't give you, will never give you the respect. And that's okay too. It's all right, bruv. To each her or his own. That's all good by me. Most important is the work you do and the impact you have on the people that are directly and indirectly connected to you. That's it. You can only do so much. But if 100,000 of us do the much we can, it can be very, very big. Not saying that it's not being done, but it's not being supported enough. At a certain point, I see, for example, I was talking earlier about artists, friends of mine that I know who are doing great things in Africa, trying to empower, local talents, craftsmaker, craftswoman, craftsman, really giving them extra knowledge because, just because you're from the diaspora doesn't mean you don't have an added value. And that's important for me to emphasize on. You have an added value, but you must not come as egotistical and thinking that you have all of it. No. And if you come meet that person where they are, add the element that is missing for the luxury, for the finishing touch, this and that. That's gonna allow the product you're trying to sell to be consumed by people all across the world, wherever they're from, whoever they're from, then you've achieved something great. But the problem is that a lot of these artists, a lot of these people, entrepreneurs, because not only they're artists, but they are entrepreneurs, they are not supported. There's not a fund where they can go to and present their project that will look at their project in an efficient, fast, and correct way, sing their, their record of the record of their, their track record, and say, okay, based upon what we have and what you need, we think we can grant you this. Okay, is that going to be fine? Cool. You have to be comprehensive. And maybe I don't know everything about financing, and I certainly don't. But I spend enough time talking with people who know about it and who give me some bits and pieces of information that I'm trying to share here based upon my understanding of it. It will never equal the one of a scholar or somebody who really practices all these things and who can say and dilute, or let's even say, dissect, what I'm saying and actually get into, more details as to explain to why this is not happening, or yes, it's happening, but why it's not being generalized, this and that and the other. What are the complications? What are the obstacles, etc., etc., etc. But I'm going to bring people on the show that can talk on this topic and maybe help bring some more light. And, hopefully, for those, because I know some people who are in certain positions watch this show. I know they don't necessarily speak, but I do know that they're watching it. Single-handedly, I can't change nobody's mind, but maybe I can influence somebody to just believe. And I'm not even talking about policymakers or ministers, whatever. I'm just talking to you, the regular person, just like me, who wants to make an impact in her or his everyday life and people's everyday life. It just takes for you to truly honor your gift, be about your work ethic, communicate, share the knowledge, inspire others. If you don't have money, you have your knowledge. And don't be discouraged because somebody screwed you over because you shared these many secrets, this and that. Look, life is too short to waste time on things, this and that. No. Keep it moving. Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. You know the amount of people I've helped, supported, provided, access to so many resources as far as my network. They did their thing. Do they owe me something? No. Would it be nice for them to sometimes this and that? Maybe, but I don't really do it for that. Everybody that I've helped and continue to help and support, I'm happy to do it because I see talent in them. And I've learned not to have expectations for any of these things. As a matter of fact, doing things with expectations and, having, kind of like second thoughts about, then you're not really doing it from a place of purity and true love. Now, doesn't mean that you should just be, like that and giving away. No. You got to be selective. Of course, at a certain point, you start learning that, well, unfortunately, not everybody, is proven to be really deserving. And you set in place certain things that allow you to, eliminate those who are not worthy of the time that you can actually provide, because they just are there to take and not give back, because once they have the knowledge, they're never going to give back to someone else. Dixon, já lançou um álbum, mano. Mas não sei em qual mundo estás, mas já acabei de lançar um álbum em junho. 31 temas. Vai lá ver no Spotify. Respect ALC. This is more of an African mindset, asking for respect. The only ones that should request respect from me is dad and mom. Even my eldest brother shouldn't ask me to respect them if they don't earn it. So there's different ways of respecting. There's different ways of respecting. So even your dad and mom, if they don't earn the respect, they shouldn't get the respect based upon your perspective. Because if for you respect is earned, then that's the kind of, so I don't know how to put that in the right phrasing, but there's respect you give to every human being. Then there's added respect. If I meet, for example, your parents, I will come to them in a very respectful manner. I will comport myself and I'll behave and I'll treat and I'll carry myself in a way that is extra respectful towards them, um, because they're our parents and that's our culture. And if you have an older brother, I will obviously not treat him the same way I'm going to treat your parents, but I will give him respect and consideration. Even if it's a younger brother, it doesn't matter, or a sister for that matter. I think one of the big issues between siblings is that, well, you don't earn my respect. But do you think your respect is also earned? Because just because, and this philosophy, but that's a more, now we're coming out of the conversation. Now you're taking that conversation somewhere else. But let me respond to that, what you just said here. My take on this is that this mindset is very dangerous because you come from the same bloodline. You know what I mean? Your parents gave you guys life. If you start having this kind of mindset between you guys, you fucking shit up. You fucking the legacy and the hard work and sweat your parents put for you to be where you are. You know, even though they may have fucked up some of your education, even though they didn't have all the answers, you know, not our parents are our heroes. We love them, but they are flawed just like anyone else, right? So they're flawed just like any human beings, just like we will be with our kids. And I would certainly not want my kids to say that. Oh, you hurt my respect, bro. And I'm like, that's my brother, man. You know, I have an older brother. If he behaves in a way that I don't like, I'll address it right away. Like, yo, I don't like how you said that shit. What the fuck? And then we argue about it, but I will always respect him because that's my brother. And plus it's my older brother. Same thing with my sister, younger sisters, etc. Like I think we need to really be careful with this kind of mindset. You didn't earn my respect, bro. I understand some families, some siblings have more fucked up relationship than others. But in the end, you know, if you start playing that game, it's a never-ending thing. And what we end up doing is that you're making your parents extremely sad because ego shouldn't come into a conversation when we talk about family. Family is the most precious thing you have, and it's also the most complicated thing to deal with. But it's precious. And so not everybody's made to be a leader. You know, I am a leader in my family. I am a pillar in my family, but we all are part of the same chain. You know, we need to be strong together. The thing is that if you start turning back on each other, and I do know that this happens, you know, and I've seen it firsthand, you know, people turning their back and stabbing their own siblings in the back. And yeah, it's harder to forgive that because like, you're my blood. I would never do that to you, but yet you did it to me. Now, does that mean that I'm going to respect you less? I will have less consideration for you because you've done that to me and I would have never done it to you. But I must have compassion because you have your reasons. Does it mean that I must be forced to continue having to deal with you? No. But I think that because, you know, we family, if at least let's just say that if you're in danger, I'm not going to let you die. And yeah, my only contribution to your life will be saving you from that trouble, but it will be my contribution because I just don't want to be the one to do to you what you did to me. But again, that's me, right? So we all are different, brothers. So not saying that, you know, the way you're doing things is right or wrong, but I would suggest that, you know, if that is how y'all function, I mean, sometimes just sitting down and allowing everybody to just, you know, speak out and say whatever crossed their brain, as fucked up and as painful as it is necessary because a lot of the time resentments are built off of old, stupid, you know, bullshit like childhood shit. You know what I mean? And I know that for a fact because, bro, there's a guy from school. I hated this guy's guts. I fucking hated this guy's guts. I mean, I can't even begin to tell you how much I hated him. And I think we hated each other so much. And there was no particular reason. I mean, already when I was a kid, I hated injustice. And he fought and actually slapped or beat the shit out of one of my friends. And I got so mad, but because he was the son of the president, that guy. You can't do nothing to the son of the president, right? So fuck, you know. But and then I think I still went and I threatened him. I said, "You better not stop, continue messing with my buddy." And so as a revenge, he cut he cut my school bag and shit, my backpack, the straps. Went back home. I was also the son of somebody, right? So, my dad was like, "What the fuck?" So, next day, my dad came with me, and said, "Hey, you." Whatever he said, I forgot. But he like a parent would say, "I'll speak to your dad about this shit because you're not gonna get away acting like that, like recklessly and threatening and terrorizing all the kids of this school." And he was so scared, but he just looked at me with so much hate, and I was like, "Oh, fuck off, man!" I didn't care. We met. From that point, I never really got close to him, whatever. And I didn't really care. In years down the line, we meet again. I think at that point 15 or 16. And that when that shit happened, we were probably 7 or 8. So 15, 16, no, 16, I think. 16 years old, at a club, and he's there. And this fucking guy is talking to me and say, "Hey, how is your uncle?" Because my uncle was in the same school I was in. And my uncle is 10 years older than me. So I'm looking at this guy, I said, "Are you fucking kidding me? You're going to talk to me like you, the kid that you are, just like me at the time, was cool with was close like that with my uncle." Hey, man, right then and there, I just moved on. I just, and then, yeah, now that we're much older, this kind of like, I think that interestingly enough, we might have more things to share about and speak on now and laugh about now than we would have had then, when you're a kid, you're going to think as a kid, and you can't allow the inner child in you to continue pushing old beefs when you're a grown person, And I think that's a lot of the time. That's, unfortunately, what rules a lot of our behaviors is, again, all the traumas, this and that and the other, that eventually pushes us to carry on and carry these traumas with us, and all these little, maybe not traumas, but this little bullshit. And, again, making peace and saying sometimes, "Sorry, man. If I've done something that hurt you," or sometimes you haven't done it, it's just you being you, being the flyest kid in the school, which I don't think I was at the time. It could be just anything, or just because you're a weirdo, you don't look like the others, I mean, look, I can tell you stories about that. Actually, let me save that for another conversation, because that's a very cool topic. Respect LC, appreciate you bringing that, and we're going to talk further more on that next week. Yeah, next week. With that being said, family, this was Monday Quality Talks number 56, and I am very thankful for your presence. For those of you who will be watching the show as a replay, thank you very much. Don't forget to press the like button, to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that yet. Make sure you show some love via donations, whether it be while you watch a replay or, using all the other means of making that happen. If you can't make a donation, you can always buy merch. Go to my website, www.boddhi-satva.com. And if you can't do that, then stream the music, stream the music, go to your favorite streaming platforms and, add my music to your playlist and, spread the word. And you can also share this live, of course, on your platforms and, do what you may. But as always, thank you so much for your precious support. For those of you who happens to be in Morocco this week, I'm going to be Thursday in Casablanca. And I'm going to be Friday in Marrakesh. I'll be DJing in both those cities, Thursday in Casablanca and Friday in Marrakesh. You definitely want to come through. Don't miss out. It's going to be a great vibe. And And yeah, I shall see you guys and gals next week, Monday, inshallah. May you all be blessed with a very fruitful and healthy week. Continue nourishing your dreams. Never stop believing that you can do it. Work to make that happen. And don't let anyone tell you otherwise, man. It's important, utterly important. Family, signing out. Blessings indeed.